The views and opinions of the following show do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of News Talk 1450 WOL, Radio 1 Incorporated, or their management.
This is Montgomery Mosaic on 1450 WOL, WPRS HD2, and worldwide on WOLDCnews.com. Montgomery Mosaic features topics of interest to Montgomery County residents, businesses, and visitors. Here now are your hosts, Deborah Milo and Ron Thompson.
And good morning to you. I am Ron Thompson. Deborah Milo is under the weather, and we wish her a speedy recovery. But this is Montgomery Mosaic on 1450 WOL. And this morning we have in studio with us the director of the Montgomery County Office of Human Rights, Mr. James Stowe. Good morning and welcome to WOL.
Thank you, sir. Glad to be here.
All right. You were appointed director of the Montgomery County's Office of Human Rights almost 6 years ago in 2008. Tell us a little bit about your background and what brought you to Montgomery County.
I've been in the business of human rights now going on almost 30 years, and so spent some early years in the state of North Carolina as a director for the State Human Relations Commission for the state of North Carolina, and then left there, headed then to Columbus, Ohio, where I spent almost 15 years in the capacity of the director of community relations for that city, and then came here to Montgomery County, as you have said, nearly 6 years here as well. And so my whole background has really been in the area of advocacy, been a strong proponent of things that are just right to do. And I've never forgotten the shoulders for which I stand on, and just consider it a great privilege to be in this work and to note that so many folks have given ultimate price between their lives and others have given other kinds of gifts to allow me to be who I am today. So I never, ever forget that.
Let's talk for a minute about the role of the Office of Human Rights and the Commission on Human Rights. Start with the Commission itself, if you don't mind.
The Commission, of course, is a group of citizens and residents of Montgomery County that are appointed by the county executive of Montgomery County and, of course, confirmed by county council. They normally serve 3-year terms, and their real interest is to be the voice of the county, to represent persons' interests and views on a number of issues, and they have also the regulatory responsibility to be involved in the complaint process. They hear appeals of complaints that happen within our office, the Office of Human Rights, and then they have the ability then to render decisions on those appeals, and their decisions in some instances are final, and other decisions can be also appealed further into our court system. We then, as the Office of Human Rights, serve as staff to the Human Rights Commission and provide them with administrative support. We receive those complaints I mentioned a minute ago as part of our process. We do the investigation and do the discovery and then make what we call determinations about those complaints, and then render findings that, in fact, are the law at that point in time, should they not be appealed. And, of course, as I mentioned a minute ago, when it is appealed, it in fact goes to the Human Rights Commissioners. So this is the relationship that we have. We are now going into, I believe, I've got this right, and my math may be off just a year or two, but we're right now entering to year 54 of our existence. So 54 years we've been doing the business of human rights in Montgomery County.
Okay, the Commission's duties mandate that it work to eliminate discrimination, prejudice, intolerance, bigotry in housing, recreation, education, health, employment, public accommodations, justice, regardless of race, color, religion, creed, ancestry, national origin, sex, age. It encompasses everything, correct?
It really does. It's a very comprehensive code, part of our code here in Montgomery County, and we are, I think, very privileged to be in a county that seeds itself trying to reach and begin to cover as many persons and many situations and circumstances as we do. Very progressive in that regard, and so and a leader and as well from across the country with what we do here in Montgomery County. So this really has positioned us well to ensure then that all persons have access to employment opportunities, to housing opportunities, to be able to come and go to public places, and feel that they are a meaningful part of this county. And so the law has been situated in such a way then to allow that to occur. We work on the basis that every person has the right to file a complaint. We will hear that complaint. People can come to our offices. They can make appointments to come to their offices. They can do so by our website. So a number of ways they can actually enter into our system. But the idea is that we want to hear those stories and see if we can help out in any way possible.
In case you just tuned in, we are talking with James Stowe. He is the director of the Montgomery County Office of Human Rights. And you are listening to 1450 WOL. How many times does the commission meet?
The commission meets on a monthly basis, and at the point in time, we'll handle a number of issues that come up and other business of the commission at that point in time. Persons who have an interest in becoming a part of the commission, being a commissioner, can always just look to see openings that are available through the Montgomery County listing, and we've been more than glad to have those individuals be considered for openings as they come up on the commission. But their task really is, as I mentioned early on, is to be that voice, and we're hoping that people understand too that sometimes we hear from complainants that actually come to the office, and sometimes from individuals who have things that they see, they think that people talk to them as well, and we are really hoping that they will also bring those stories to our attention as well. We have the ability through the commission to have commissioner complaints. In other words, they can actually generate the complaint themselves. Okay. If in fact they believe something has occurred. So they have a lot of influence over the process, and so we believe then that it is a very strong commission. It has the word teeth often is battered around when people talk about, well, what can you do for me? Well, this commission has teeth. They can actually do things like in an employment situation to be able to reinstate you in your position if that's the issue that is at play there, assist in getting a promotion if in fact that's the issue that's being talked about in your complaint, back pay, et cetera. So a number of things that can come out of the process as a result of you bringing a complaint to the Office of Human Rights and to the Human Rights Commission.
And where does the commission meet at?
The actual meeting location is 21 Maryland Avenue. It is, of course, the Rockville Memorial Library. We have a brand new name now, so Rockville Memorial Library. We're on the third floor. Suite 330 is our address. And again, it is a place for which one does not have to have an appointment. It is, we believe, the place that belongs to the entire community, and so therefore we want you to come as you have the opportunity to come and share and be able then to get services from us. But they do meet there, and also the offices of the Office of Human Rights are located there as well.
All right. We are talking with James Stowe, director of the Montgomery County Office of Human Rights. And the office is gearing up for a very special celebration, Human Rights Hall of Fame event in October. Can you tell us about that, how it came about, how people are selected, and what the procedure is for nominating someone?
Thank you. This is a very exciting part of our year. We do this every 2 years, and so this is the year for which the event will occur. And let me get some of the particulars out of the way first. The actual installing of our human rights nominees this year will take place on October 12th, 2014. And we'll do this at the Black Rock Center for the Arts up in Germantown. And each year, what we try to do is to have our community bring to our attention those individuals who have been pioneers, who have, through their lifetimes and through their current accomplishments, have moved forward the whole issue of human and civil rights in Montgomery County. And this year, the theme is going to be on the idea of advancing strategies that, in fact, advance human and civil rights. And so that may be able then to encompass those of us who may not be quite as old as those of us who may be a little bit more senior in terms of age, but have nevertheless brought some significant contributions to our community that have changed it, that have moved it forward. And so we're excited about the process, and we're hoping then we'll have a lot of nominees come in. The deadline for nominations is August the 22nd, 2014. And you can go to our website, which is www.montgomerycountymd /human rights. and be able then to find the nomination form there online. It is also, by the way, online at the county's website, which is www.montgomerycounty.gov. montgomerycountymd.gov. It'll come right up as well when you go to, again, the connecting point for the Office of Human Rights. And so all they're available to you, you'll be able to see that right then and there. So this, by the way, is part of the brainchild of my predecessor, Odessa Shannon, who was in this role for many years. And she thought it was important that we, in fact, recognize persons who, in fact, through their work, through their efforts, have made us a better place to live here in Montgomery County. And so, again, we're hoping that persons will nominate individuals. The criteria there is online as well. That kind of spells out what we're looking for in terms of how you, in fact, nominate someone. And then we're hopeful then that it will be a full, broad scope of individuals all across the county that will be nominated. So then that when we choose him or her, then we truly are choosing then persons who have and do represent very well those who are already in the Hall of Fame. And by the way, we probably have about, to date, as in my last count, about 73 persons who are actually in the Hall of Fame as of 2000 when we first started this program.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Let's talk about what's coming up in September. Looks like you have a fairly busy month. Some of the events taking place in September, for instance, the Friendship Picnic, the One-Stop Shop for Employees, and the Bullying Forum, which I believe is taking place this year at the Silver Spring Civic Building. Let's talk a little bit about each one of these events. I'll give you a second to think about those, because that is quite a bit that I asked you to speak about. We're going to check traffic in about 30 seconds or so. This is Montgomery Mosaic. My name is Ron Thompson, along with Deborah Milo. She is out today, but she will be back. We wish her a speedy recovery. It's Montgomery Mosaic right here on 1450 WOL, where information is power.
Web at WOLDCnews.com.
Good morning. This WOL Traffic Update is brought to you by the Foundation for a Better Life. On inbound 50, it's the construction back again today in the right lane near 202 in Cheverly with delays from 410. Southbound on the Baltimore-Washington Parkway, the left lane is blocked right before the district line for an accident, and that's slowing you down from 202. So both on the BW Parkway and 50, very slow approaching northeast. Imagine the dark picture if Thomas Edison had given up on the light bulb, but failure didn't discourage Edison. Optimism, pass it on from the Foundation for a Better Life at values.com. Now your WOL weather forecast brought to you by Marlowe Furniture. For today, mix of clouds and sun, a high around 84. Partly cloudy overnight, tonight down to 64. Tomorrow mostly sunny and a high near 85.
A beautiful bedroom for less than the daily cost of a Cafe Grande, only at Marlowe.
Steve Rizor for News Talk 1450 WOL, where information is power.
1450 WOL.
Welcome back to Montgomery Mosaic on 1450 WOL. My name is Ron Thompson. Deborah Milo is out today, and I'm handling the show myself with James Stowe. He is the director of the Montgomery County Office of Human Rights. And we were talking about the upcoming events in September. Let's begin with the Friendship Picnic.
Great event, Ron, number one. This is Montgomery County's response to the tragic series of events that occurred at the Boston Marathon, you may recall. Most of us obviously remember that very vividly.
Yes.
But at any rate, we wanted to make real sure that should an incident like that, and God forbid that it would occur, happen in our county, we would not, in fact, digress to the point of pointing out sort of who did this. And as you may remember, when that happened there in Boston, a number of things were said about who they suspected would have done this, the deed, and just create a whole lot of negative energy around that whole process. And
rush to judgment, right?
That's exactly correct. And so what we're saying here is that we want to make real sure that we are strong and united as a community so that when something like that may occur, if it were ever to occur, we would have then the presence to simply say, let's wait and let's let justice, in fact, take its course. And so the idea that to be able to do that, you've got to have relationships within the community amongst all of us who make this our home. And so the idea is the friendship picnic is to bring people together. No other reason other than that. There won't be a lot of speeches, none of those kind of things. It'll be, again, programming centered around, again, helping us do things together. We'll be eating together, of course. The word picnic certainly infers that. But the idea is that we come together around the sense that we all are here in Montgomery County. And so that event will take place again on the 14th of September at Wheaton Regional Park. It will be a free event. We'll have things for our kids to do as well. We'll have a number of folks coming in and providing entertainment. And just a chance to be in the same space and place really is the objective here. So not much bigger than that. And so the idea is that we have a chance then to learn from one another. We'll have foods that might in fact be certainly appropriate for the various dietary needs depending upon the person's religious beliefs and so forth. So there'll be kosher food, there'll be halal food, and of course those of us who are able to eat different sort of foods as well, we'll have that there. And so we'll try our very best to accommodate people. But the idea, though, is that we're in, again, the spirit for which we're there brings us together as persons who live and work in Montgomery County. So, again, coming up on the 14th of September, Wheaton Regional Park, from 1 to 5 is the time frame. 1 to 5 will be the time frame for that, and persons will be hearing more about that. You'll be seeing flyers out there and so forth, advertising that event coming up. Ron, right behind that is an event coming up on the 28th of September, will be our third installment looking at the issue of bullying in our schools. And this really has drawn a lot of good, positive energy around persons wanting to discuss this issue and wanting to find out more about it and to certainly seek out resources that might be available. This has come about as a result of us hearing more and more about things happening, not only in our schools, right, but also in and around where we work and play. And so we're trying to really look into this issue further. So coming up on the 28th of September, it'll be again at the Civic Springs Civic Building from 1 until 5 this day as well. And we'll be looking at the issues from the public's perspective. We did a program on this back on October 4th of 2012, and we looked at that point in time the issues relative to those who are subject matter experts, kind of giving us the backdrop of why this happens, who's doing it, and what's being done about it, and what resources are out there that may be available. We came back a year later, the 29th of March, to look at the issues of those who are being bullied. Our kids actually spoke to us and shared their own stories, and they were quite dramatic, as you might imagine. And in fact, one of the persons who was there also was a person who had done some of the bullying and gave also a very dramatic perspective on her perspective on this whole piece. And as it turns out, we see the common thread of all of them being injured themselves. At one point in time, being hurt to places and where they become then protective of themselves, and acting out has become their way of doing that. And so we learned that. And so now we want to know from the general public about what you think. And maybe there are stories out there that those of us who maybe have yet gone through this situation can learn from and benefit from those experiences. So again, on the 28th of September at the Civic Building will be the opportunity to hear this presentation.
You're listening to Montgomery Mosaic with Deborah Milo and Ron Thompson on 1450 WOL. In studio, our guest, Mr. James Stowe. He is the director of the Montgomery County Office of Human Rights. And every year, your office facilitates a human rights camp. Now, what is the purpose of the camp, and what are the age groups that you are targeting to participate in this camp?
This is another idea that has been around for a while, and we're trying to really focus in on the 5th grade across Montgomery County. Both those who are in Montgomery County Public Schools, those who are in private schools and parochial schools, those who may be homeschooled also are eligible to be part of this program. And we take persons through recommendations from principals, from guidance counselors, also from parents who might want to come to this event. Again, the information concerning the camp is on our website, as I mentioned early on. A person can go to the website and pull down the actual form that's there for this year's camp. The dates, by the way, are October 17th through the 19th. This coincides with the teacher work day, so we'll have a chance then to have our kids for the entire long weekend. They go Friday morning, we bring them back then on Sunday afternoon. And we introduce them to concepts within the human rights. This is what this is really all about. For many of them, the first time many of them have been away from home, it turns out, oftentimes.
I was going to say it.
And so
grade, yes.
Exactly. And so what ends up occurring in many instances is they learn about themselves a little bit, being without mom or dad or other caring adult, and having to share space with someone else and make that work overnight. And so we do a little team building. We again share some human rights concepts that are part of our office and what we do, fair housing, fair employment. They learn about those things as well. And we also bring in various guests who kind of share an experience too. The U.S. Forestry Service comes in as an example, and they are a part of our program. So there are a number of people who are part of the process that allows us then to share stories that have happened in ways that we hope leave lasting impressions. And the other thing we try to do is also make them feel good about themselves and their backgrounds and their heritage that they learn a little bit about as well. And so we do this again at Camp Letts. It's located down in Edgewater, Maryland, just outside of Annapolis. And the idea is that they have this experience and a chance then to be a part of the process of learning about themselves and others. And so we're excited about that. Again, the dates are October 17th to the 19th. And persons can go to their guidance council offices or principal's office and ask questions about them. They will have the information. We'll be getting it to those persons the latter part of August. So that should be in their hands, certainly by the time our kids get there to start off the school year.
Excellent. The Civil Rights Education Freedom Tour. Now, you began this traditional tour several years ago and have hosted it every year since. Let's talk about this annual trip and what participants can expect.
Ron, this really is a pilgrimage that all of us ought to take, and I mean all of us, to really understand how it is we've got to where we are today, the progress that has been made and the progress that's yet need to be made. This is a chance for many of us to go and revisit some of the routes, trips, sites, destinations of many of our freedom fighters from the civil rights movement. We leave here headed down then to Greensboro to look at A&T State University, as you know, where some of the first sit-ins took place at the Woolworth's counter there in Greensboro. We have that experience, which is a real opportunity to kind of see what happened to those 4 young men who just turned the world upside down, as it turned out. We leave there headed down to Atlanta, Georgia, and had the experience around Sweet Auburn. Sweet Auburn, of course, is named that because this is where Dr. King grew up. And had his first pastorate there at Ebenezer Baptist Church. And so all that's there to kind of experience and be a part of that. The National Park Service does an outstanding job in preserving the various things that are located there. The Center for Nonviolent Social Change is there as well. And so persons get a chance to kind of experience that. We head then down to Tuskegee, Alabama, where, of course, the Tuskegee Airmen were based and trained prior to going to the European theater in World War II. And so we have that experience. Also go to Tuskegee University. George Washington Carver was, of course, a professor there. His laboratory is still there, much like it was prior to his death. And you see the genius of this man. I mean, we kind of have him as somebody we kind of know about it in school, but we have no idea what he was engaged with in terms of his level of understanding about the world around him. Booker T. Washington, of course, was the president and founder of Tuskegee University. His home is there as well. And so we have a chance to do that. We head then to Montgomery, Alabama. Site of the Montgomery bus boycott. Rosa Parks Museum, get a chance to see that, and also the home in terms of the parsonage for, again, Martin Luther King Jr. And get a chance to kind of see that, see what the bomb exploded there, by the way, in the pavement of his home on that day, that back many, many years ago. So we get a chance to kind of have that experience. Leave there, headed down then to Selma, Alabama. Selma, Alabama, ground zero then for the Voter Rights Act. That took place, and a marvelous piece there that I think is so important to note as we go there. We get a chance to kind of talk with people, Ron, who were actually there. Many of them are certainly well into their ages and so forth. I think now many of them mid-80s and early 90s, but are still very vibrant and can talk about this in authentic kind of ways. And we think it's so important to hear the story and not read about it. Leave there, then headed down to Birmingham, Alabama, again, where our children took over the movement. And we talk about the water cannons and the snarling dogs that were part of that process. And people get a chance kind of to revisit that, albeit vicariously. And then we have a chance also to go to Kelly Ingram Park and then go to the church, the 16th Street Baptist Church, where the 4 little girls were killed as that church was bombed that Sunday morning. And so a real powerful time for our participants to be at that point in time. Leave there, headed down then to Memphis, Tennessee. again, where Dr. King was killed, Lorraine Motel. And so we have this experience in a linear kind of way, and you begin to see all those people who were involved from every race, most religions, and you really understand this is a movement that was for all of us. This is why I say it really is a pilgrimage for the entire community. Again, information is already on our website for the new dates coming up. The dates this year will be, it's actually going to be 2015, will be then April the 6th through the 10th. We're going to probably add this year going to Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas. Remember the Little Rock 9.
Right.
And so we got a lot going on. We're very excited about this. And so persons can find information concerning this. This trip, by the way, is paid for by participants. The county money is not what moves this experience. It is paid for by participants. And so we have room for 40 individuals only, for 40 people. So again, we're asking you to jump on board real soon and be a part of it.
And what's the cost?
The cost varies depending upon your accommodations. The most expensive cost will be a single room accommodation. And this price includes, by the way, your hotel stay for 5 days. It includes 3 meals. It includes bus transportation. It includes entry into all the various venues that one will experience, and there are many of them. And as well as we, in fact, have snacks and so forth actually on the bus run. So you need not bring anything once you, in fact, get on the bus. So the most expensive one would be $735 is the most expensive one. And Ron, when you think about all the things I just told you about, it is one heck of a bargain. And the least expensive is for our students, and we will put them, two to a room, and that's around $615. And so those are the things that, again, but they can find out more specific information about their situation on the website.
Okay, with just a few minutes left, I want to ask you 2 questions. Number one, what is the most common complaint or issue that your office handles?
Okay, it is employment. Still the number one issue that people come to us for. Race still predominates why they come, the reason they give us that they, in fact, feel they've been discriminated against. But right behind it is the issue of disability. Is a major issue, and it relates more to housing than employment, but clearly it is still an issue as well, and the issue of national origin, being cited for both housing and for employment kinds of complaints.
And finally, why don't you share with our listeners your website address? I know there's a lot of useful information there about the programs who you spoke so eloquently about.
Thank you so much. There is indeed. The website again is www.montgomerycountymd.com/human rights. And that should bring it then to our website.
Mr. James Stowe, Director of the Montgomery County Office of Human Rights, has been our guest right here on Montgomery Mosaic. My name is Ron Thompson, along with Deborah Milo. We look forward to talking to you very soon, right here on 1450 WOL, where information is power.
You've been listening to Montgomery Mosaic, featuring topics of interest to Montgomery County residents, businesses, and visitors. For more information or a copy of the show, email public information at montgomerycountymd.gov.